Captain's Log Supplemental. After a most recent mission near the neutral zone, the crew was granted some much-needed shore leave. The crew elected to stop at Ryza for some much-needed R&R. I myself stayed on the ship to catch up on crew evaluations. After the crew returned from shore leave, I began noticing some alarming trends. Crew members being distracted, seemingly lost in thought. Chronic tardiness to duty shifts among the crew, with very few unaffected. Lieutenant Jacobs brought to my attention a game that had been brought back aboard with a crew from Ryza. After what had happened on the Enterprise, I was very alarmed at the possibility of an attempted takeover of the ship. After a thorough examination of the game, it turns out that it was just an incredibly enjoyable game, and many members of the crew were obsessed. Fortunately, despite some grumbling, banning the game from the ship has seemed to cure the crew of the distraction.
Good evening and welcome to Captain's Log Supplemental. My name is Stanford. I am joined by my good friends Chris.
Hey there.
And Robertson.
Hello.
Who we generally call Rob because it's easier.
Also, it could be morning when they're listening to this. You don't know.
Yeah, well,
It's
shut
very
up.
presumptive of you.
We are Captain's Log Supplemental. Oh, well, we are not, I suppose. We're the hosts of Captain's Log Supplemental, a podcast wherein we rewatch all of Star Trek in chronological order according to the episodes. Speaking of which, I found out an interesting fact this week.
Oh?
Apparently, in the original series, they were broadcast out of Stardate order.
Interesting.
So we're going to be jumping around when we get there because, I guess they had them in specific, chronological order, but they didn't broadcast them in the same order for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
These are little tidbits when I talk to my dad and he comes and yells at me about how little we know about the original series. We are a fairly new podcast. We're almost done with our first season, but we still only have, a few ones of listeners. So we would really appreciate it if you'd rate and review us on whatever podcast listening platform you are on. And definitely tell people about us, try to get some more ears on the show. We have fun with it. So I feel like we're fun to listen to, but I might be a little biased.
We're fun.
Now, to get down to what is by far the most disgusting episode of Star Trek I think I can remember.
Oh, there's going to be so many bad jokes. So many bad jokes.
It is gross.
Did you, so Chris, you're still watching these on Amazon, right?
Correct, yes.
Oh my God. What was the little thumbnail for yours? Because for ours, it was Archer strung up in the ceiling with all of the white slimy tentacles all over him.
Mine was Trip in more or less the same position.
Awesome.
The look on Archer's face on the Paramount Plus thumbnail is I was cleaning it, it went off. It's
it's ectoplasm.
Yeah, it's thoroughly bad. Thoroughly bad. So yes, this episode is called Vox Sola. I didn't look up what that meant. What is Sola? I get Vox's voice. What is Sola?
I'm assuming soul seems the root word, so I'm assuming it has something to do with the sun, but I could be wrong there.
Would you say, Rob?
Probably star, maybe? I don't know. Let me look it up.
Well, you do that. This is one of the fun episodes where we open with a Captain's Log Supplemental, although, again, it is Enterprise, so he says Captain Star Log Supplemental because he's got to be, just that extra try-hard. We open the show with the crew of the Enterprise, especially Archer, immediately making some sort of horrifying mistake during a first contact situation with some aliens. And the aliens are storming off angry because, according to Hoshi, you eat like you mate. Is the best that she can do with her translation, which everyone was chastising her for, although it turns out she was right the whole time. So, yeah, fucking Hoshi. Everyone treats her like she fucked up, but it turns out that she was not the issue even a little bit.
Also, Archer's apology was garbage.
My note here is, oh man, Archer hates apologizing.
He so hates apologizing.
It's like his face can't get himself to do it because he has to like look away. He's like, if hold on, we nope, don't like it. That's pretty much the whole scene.
Oh man, I just noticed I must have like bumped something because my audio stopped recording for a minute.
That's all right. My phone is ringing right now. So how much of that did you lose? It's my dad.
Is he listening right now?
He's not listening right now. How would he be
Just
listening?
kidding, man.
Hi, Dad. What's up?
Well, not much. You said you wanted me to call you and tell you where I got that thing from.
Yeah, but we're in the middle of recording right now.
Oh, wow! How awesome for all the kids at home.
Yeah. Do you want to say hi to the radio land there?
I don't know any of those people. However, I do know Rob. Hi, Rob. And
Hi.
I think by now I've heard Chris's voice enough to recognize that. And I just finished listening to what was the episode? I don't know. Had to do with time travel.
Cold Front. Wow, we're getting a live review. What did you think?
I like your podcast. I'm actually enjoying it a lot. Obviously, as you and I have talked several times, and you guys, your gaps in your knowledge, especially on early Star Trek, which of course I'm a huge fan of, are startling, but that's okay. That's okay. There's been a lot of Star Trek since 1968.
Mm-hmm. So now, if I could put you on the spot there, Chief, who's your favorite person on the podcast?
Oh God.
Wow. Well, I like everyone on the podcast for different reasons, right? Because Rob is very thoughtful, and Chris is, I don't know, Chris just has a way of saying the things he says that I find to be entertaining and fun. And then, of course, I'd be sort of remiss if I didn't say I really like listening to my son and doing his podcast. So I'm just going to say everybody.
Good. Aww. That was the right answer. All right, so I'm going to get back to doing my show here. I will call you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's cool, because I want to talk about the time travel episodes that Rob kind of ranked out. So yeah, give me a call.
All right, sounds good, man. Have a good night.
All right. See ya. Have fun, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
We will now refer to him as Podcast Dad.
Yeah.
Dad.
Or how about Podcast Papa?
Podcast Papa.
Podcast Papa.
Yeah, so that is Chief Stanford, my father. He is I think our only avid listener aside from like the people who are in this channel right now.
Just me.
I think my dad also.
Yes,
I think my dad also listens. So hi, Dad.
That's exciting. Well, next time he can call you and we can listen to your dad. So back to the show. We exit the cold open watching like some gross goop go from the alien ship onto Enterprise and in through the airlock as the alien ship pulls away. And then we get a little
loose snot.
Yes, the CGI on it was a little inconsistent.
Yeah.
So like at times, especially towards the beginning, it looked a lot like that shit that Alex Mack turns into in that Nickelodeon show. But then
that was more like Quicksilver though.
Yeah, but then later it does look kind of ropey.
Oh.
And then later it gets a little yeah. Anyways, then we get a little Faith of the Heart.
Faith of the Heart.
As we come back from that wonderful opening, Hoshi is not real thrilled at her performance. She seems kind of upset. She's kind of trying to like work out what the problem was and figure out like just trying to like remake her, like redo things so that she can unfuck her mistakes.
I felt like this was like flashback Hoshi, like beginning of the series Hoshi is back. Yay.
Yeah. Right, yeah, all that progress she'd made on being good at her job and like feeling confident with herself is like gone.
Yep.
T'Pol and her get into this weird little spat that I don't get.
Yeah. I don't understand. That was a tough one for me too. Like, what is she like ragging on her? Like, is she overreact? Like, it was just weird.
T'Pol definitely should not work in healthcare. Her bedside manner leaves a lot to be desired.
And I don't know. She's like, because T'Pol's doing her job, right? Because she's the XO. Like, her job is management over these bridge officers. So,
well, I think one of the weird parts about it was like she did criticize her, but then she like kind of backed it off a little bit as well. Like,
that's the closest a Vulcan gets to a compliment sandwich.
You completely fucked this up, and you're the only one on the crew who can unfuck it. So get your shit together. Like,
pretty
thanks? Much. Archer is sulking, which is very funny to me. He's basically in his ready room being like, I don't apologize, it's stupid.
I said, Archer's throw a little hissy fit in its office, big old baby. It's like Trip comes in and he's like, hey buddy, you want some ice cream?
Archer's like, I better be important, man.
You want to play some baseball? No.
But Trip brings him the only thing that'll cheer him up is a water polo match. What my note here says, oh shucks, you always know how to cheer me up. Wet shirtless dudes splashing about. Apparently Stanford and Texas are in a water polo match. So like,
you were playing Texas?
I was. I'm very good at water polo, which would probably surprise you. What with the wheelchair and all.
You just strap some propellers to that. You're fine.
No. I just get those arm floaties and I'm good to go. Porthos, however, is very unhappy because the goop monster is going through the Enterprise's like ceilings and ductwork areas. So Porthos starts barking.
What is it, Porthos? Is Timmy trapped in the well?
It's a goop monster in the ceiling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we're eating.
Of course.
Naturally.
Real time.
Prime rib, which sounded delicious. Real horseradish.
Delicious.
Nothing makes me hungrier than seeing them eat like prime rib with horseradish. I fucking love prime rib so much.
So good.
The horseradish is what really makes that dish.
And
I love horseradish with steak.
Right. And people are like, prime rib, it's easy to cook. I get something fancy. I'm like, no. I like it because it's hard to fuck up. Like, you really can't get bad prime rib. Now I'm starving to death again.
Right.
So they're talking about a movie that is going to be playing. Reed, Travis, I believe, and Hoshi are having dinner.
Right.
And they're talking about a movie that's playing, whether or not Reed's going to go. Travis is like, don't worry, Reed, some shit blows up in the movie, so you're going to enjoy it.
He must be a big fan of...
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to say, he must be a big fan of Michael Bay.
He's a huge Michael Bay stan.
Like his face lit up as soon as they mentioned things blowing up. Like it was like peak comedy, peak Star Trek comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, so Hoshi, you gonna come? And she's like, no, because she's determined to not be cheered up by these assholes.
Yep.
We cut to, so she's going back to her quarters to just dwell on things, and she keeps hearing weird stuff. She thinks she hears the goop in the wall.
Hoshi hears squishy noises in the wall.
Yeah, which is, that's fine. And she's like, this is weird. And then she just kind of goes on about her day. We cut to a couple of engineers that we have never seen before and have no names. So they're screwed.
Looks like red stripes with the new red shirts.
And they're talking about going to this movie, but Crewman A has got to go in and fix some stuff. So they're like, well, we're going to be late to the movie. It's like, it's fine. It's fine. We go to the movie theater at this point because we've decided that this movie is the most important thing that's happening in this episode of Star Trek. We know so many details about this goddamn movie that,
it's French.
At this point, I think that's what we're supposed to be focusing on. So,
of course, to be fair, we learn a lot about water polo
That is true.
We're not quite there yet. We're gonna get all the deets about water polo. The movie starts, but then it cuts out as we suddenly see weird. It like goes to static, and then it starts showing like camera angles from elsewhere on the bridge because something's wrong with the electrical system or something. I don't know. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's fine.
It's fine.
Then we also cut to Archer and Trip, who are watching water polo. Archer's explaining things to Trip because Archer's big into water polo. Then we cut back to Nameless Engineer A, who's about to get eated in the ship's back rooms.
Mm-hmm.
My note at this point is, ew, goop.
Yep.
Yep.
It's ectoplasm.
Something exciting happens in the water polo. Bakula cannot even be bothered to actually pretend to be excited about the exciting event he's supposed to be excited about because the man cannot act.
I mean,
then Nameless Engineer B goes to check on A, so that doesn't go well for her either.
Yep, that thing is just eating everyone that comes to try.
Classic horror movie action going on right now.
Yep.
And then, I guess, somebody fouls somebody else in water polo. And Archer's like, yeah, he's going to get ejected for 20 seconds. And Trip goes, is that fair? It gives your guys an advantage. Does Trip not know how sports work?
Yeah. I mean, he clearly references football, so he watches football. So, yeah.
Is that fair? What the fuck question is that?
Like, I guess the difference is, like, in football, you usually just, like, lose yardage, right? But, like, in a lot of other sports, like hockey, soccer, like, you can go down a man, potentially for a very long time.
Right.
True. But also, like, just the concept of, a penalty resulting in advantage for the other side is kind of consistent throughout all sport.
Right.
Right. Archer makes a joke about putting a pool in on the Enterprise. Trip says, I wouldn't want to be swimming if the gravity planing went offline. That is going to be our deep dive, so we're going to come back to that later.
Okay.
There's an interruption of the game for Engineer B to explain to Archer that she's about to get eaten by the splooge monster. They're both professional in how they sound, but Archer's face is definitely like, can't this fucking wait until after my polo game? My taped polo game.
Uh-huh.
Act 2. Ew. Gross goop web.
Mm.
So they go into the cargo bay. We've got 4 people who show up in the cargo bay. We got Captain Archer and Trip. They're in like their civilian clothing, which look ridiculous.
Yes.
They look like Ren Fair outfits.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, they're very weird looking.
We have Reed because he's security, and then Nameless Security Guy. So we know who's going to get here. They go in, shine a flashlight on the web that is apparently got their crew members kind of cocooned in it a little bit, and the light it reacts to the light and starts shrinking in on the person and kind of suffocating them. So I was like, oh, it's sensitive to light. Turn your lights off. Then they go to check on the other crew member, and Reed immediately shines his light on that one too. And it's not even like a little mistake, like, oh, they forgot that they were supposed to have the lights off for this like scene. No, because they yell at him. They're like, Reed, turn your fucking light off, man. We just talked about this. And then some very phallic tentacles come out and just start wrapping themselves around everybody.
Yeah, this went from like 0 to hentai very quickly.
I'm not convinced it was at 0.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, we're firmly in Fisherman's Dream at this point.
Senpai.
Fisherman Wife's Dream. Nameless Security. I said, oh, Nameless Security, dude, you were destined for failure. He gets wrapped up. It grabs Archer and Trip. It starts to go for Reed, but then we do the classic TV trope of like get the door shut and the tentacle kind of like snaps off.
Then it just, the little penis tentacle.
It's still moving, apparently, because we get to like Dr. Phlox, who's like taking a look at it. Apparently, it's still alive. I do appreciate how Dr. Phlox just kind of chastises the tentacle.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, now, knock that off, because it's like trying to climb on his arm. Gets a tissue sample.
It's so gooey.
Yes, it's
just like gooing everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what they used. It looks like a rubber tentacle that's been dipped in oobleck. Are we familiar with oobleck?
I'm not.
How are you a parent and haven't had to do the oobleck thing? Oobleck is this like it's a non-Newtonian fluid that's like cornstarch and water in like a certain ratio. And it's do you know what a non-Newtonian fluid is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's how you can make that at home.
Okay.
And
I didn't know there was a name for it.
Yes, I don't know why there's a name for it, but that name is oobleck.
Interesting.
Thank
But
you.
what would
Wow
you
in the
do
world.
with that? What does that have to do with children? Now I'm confused.
It's fun to play with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because like, you hit it hard and it stays solid, but if you dip your finger into it, it's like a liquid. It's fun.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes sense.
Okay. So Reed, Hoshi, and T'Pol are trying to decide what to do with this thing. And Hoshi says, this thing's emitting some kind of frequency distortions. They look like the syntax of the Andorian language. Everyone doesn't understand what the fuck she's talking about, so they immediately ignore her.
Yep.
Yeah, so like I was kind of confused by this, right? Because like T'Pol immediately goes, "All right, Mr. Reed, we're going with your option." Why couldn't they try both? Like, why did they have to wait so long to be like, "All right, Hoshi, you're up"?
Yeah, they had to make sure that Hoshi was given nothing to do for at least an hour or two before she could like hurriedly do her job later. Yeah, I also wondered that.
Super strange.
About this time, they also decided to try to find the aliens from which this thing came from. So they're going to go hunt them down as well. Travis is like, I got that. Travis is like, I'll do that. That's my job. And he does. Like, he's on it. Reed's excited to rig up some light grenades, I guess. Hoshi's like, let me try. And everyone's like, you couldn't communicate with the things that used words. Shut the fuck up. Because no one respects Hoshi at all. Even though, again, point of order, she did her job correctly in the first place. She was right about that translation.
Yeah, it was more just like not a language barrier, more of a cultural thing, I suppose you could say.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, like, if you're an alien species and something as simple as eating is like completely disrespectful to you, you think you should like let people know that, because like
Yeah, like
as
it's
Enterprise
one of
has proven, a lot of eating happens.
Yeah.
like it's one of those social situations where like yeah, it's not, I don't know. Like, I 100% understand that it's extremely offensive to them, and it's okay. Like, that is 100% fine. But, like, you gotta at least warn people first and say, like, hey, we find this offensive. And then if they continue it, then sure, be offended. But, like, if they don't know, like you said, this is first contact. This is the first time they've had any interaction with humans before.
Do you think, like, animals eat a lot? Do you think that their Discovery Channel, that to them is like the grossest thing? Because, like, we see animals fucking on Discovery Channel every once in a while, and it's like, ha ha ha. But, like, they're like, oh my God, look at that, buffalo just eating that grass. Oh God. So we get some real close-up shots of everyone kind of tied up in the goop web. Are we doing a kink again? Like, is someone in the writing room really into bondage? Because this is the second time in only like a half dozen episodes where, like, there's been some real bondage situations going on.
Like, what makes it worse for me was the glaze, like, dripping all over them.
Glaze. Blech.
Yes, they had pretty much, to give you a visual for our adult listeners, they had like a reverse facial where it was everything but their faces.
I actually, one of my notes was their hair is surprisingly not gooey for how much goo is around them.
Well, they gotta look good, man,
It's so gooey. They are in a goo prison. Do not like.
Nope.
The fancy light grenades turned out to just be like some mag light flashlights. Like they were just really strong flashlights. But their nervous systems are interlinked with the victims, and so they're hurting their own crew. Oh no, the flashlights aren't going to work. So now that we've wasted all of that time, T'Pol gets Hoshi to work. Okay, Act 3. Phlox has dire predictions about how badly this is going to go, but yeah, he's Phlox, whatever. Turns out Starfleet has been trying to make a force field generator. The greatest minds in Starfleet have been working on this, presumably for months, if not years. But don't worry, Reed's going to lick it in about an hour.
Don't say lick it when there's so much goo in this episode.
God. Hoshi's trying to decode the vibrational frequency thingamabobs, and she's like, God, I just can't figure it out. It's like math or something. And T'Pol's like, math is sometimes considered a form of a language, which, shut the fuck up, T'Pol. That was not helpful, even a little bit. And Hoshi's like, boy, sure do wish I knew somebody who was good at math. And T'Pol's like, that's funny you should say that. I know a lot of math. And Hoshi's like, boy, sure would be nice if someone can. Hoshi, just ask her to help you. Like, I don't know who wrote this sequence, but it was
that was the most
passive-aggressive
way to ask for help ever.
Back in the gross spider webs, we're going to get a little personal because we're starting to read each other's minds.
Yes.
My next note is this is fucking gross. I'm assuming it's the yes, okay, because we're close up on Trip and Archer, and you can hear the goopy noises, but also like the tentacles that are on them are clearly just like plastic, like saran wrap that's been soaked in oobleck. So they're like sliding it across their chest and stuff. It is horrifying.
My note for this scene was the bukkake monster is tightening its grip.
Yeah, that is 100% what this is.
It's not though. It's the opposite. Their faces are clean. Faces are clean.
I'm so happy for them.
I'm so sorry for our ones of listeners that this is going to be so gross, but it's just
It was a very gross episode.
This sequence has completely ruined water polo for me. Now, that was not hard to do. I'm not a big water polo guy, but I don't now forever thinking about water polo. I'm going to think about this scene.
It was such a contrived, just like, we can never give up. Like, so roundabout. Just like,
yeah.
Like, what am I thinking right now? I don't fucking know, man. We're dying.
We're going to play 20 questions.
Just tell me if you have something to say.
Cargo container. Ah, damn it. It's the only thing we can see. We get to the sick bay where Phlox has a tentacle in like an incubator thingamabob. And Reed comes in because he wants to run a test on it. And Phlox is like, what kind of test? And Reed's like, oh, I'm going to fuck up its day.
I'm going to waterboard this thing.
Yeah, he basically wants to soak it in EM radiation to find out how much will kill it. And then dial his shield back just a touch from that.
Just a touch.
Phlox says, no, this is my patient. You're not allowed to hurt it. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what the ethics are here.
It was certainly a moral gray area.
I don't think so at all. They have reason to believe this thing is sentient. Like, I agree with Phlox here. I wouldn't have let Reed torture the poor thing.
You would. And that's I don't think that's an invalid stance, but I also agree that like when you're out of options and you're trying to save lives against something you cannot interpret or understand, then you do what you got to do, you know? So like I don't know where I would lie on that spectrum, but I do understand both arguments.
Sure.
Okay, Hoshi is real angry because T'Pol is too hard on her, and T'Pol gives that like tough teacher speech of like, I'm only hard on you because I have such high expectations because you're such a good person.
Yeah.
And this changed Hoshi's whole goddamn life. She is so over the moon about this compliment from T'Pol. And then she's like, well, I'm not good at this math and numbers and codes. And T'Pol goes, any code can be broken because it's, ooh, what a strong power line. It means fucking nothing. Anyways, back on the bridge, Travis is by himself. He's the only dude there.
I love his little glance around, like, oh, nobody's here. I guess I'll answer the phone.
It's just him.
This whole scene was great. Like,
Yes.
I love Travis's character. I would love to see more screen time for him, but him just being alone and just not knowing what he's doing was perfect.
And the brilliant like look around, like, oh, okay, someone gonna answer this. Oh shit. Oh, I guess it's just me. Yeah, we don't even get like a B bridge crew. It's just Travis.
Just Travis.
Where's that spinoff?
Travis Trick.
Travis is much better at apologizing than Archer is. He starts talking to the alien. The aliens learn English because, according to them, it wasn't that hard. The aliens like describe the organism, and I'm like, slimy? I don't know.
Very gooey.
Aliens
he has to play like 20 questions with them.
Right. Aliens like, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's on this planet. We'll give you the coordinates if you apologize. Travis like, all right, well, I'm very sorry that we basically fornicated directly in front of you.
Okay, so by the way, I just wanted to bring this up. How does their sexual acts work exactly? If like eating is like sex to them, what is going on exactly?
I mean, maybe their tongue is part of their genitalia or something.
Yeah, maybe it's like
oral sex.
It's like a cloaca, only instead of the butt, it's the mouth.
It's the mouth and sex organ.
Yeah.
Oof. Yikes! That's a mess.
Okay, so anyways, I'm thinking about what. Good question.
Oh.
So when they throw up, it's like giving birth.
Oh God. Your face is just wrecked afterwards.
All right, I'm far more fascinated by this alien culture than anything else that's happened on this show.
I really hope that they don't have to dilate the same way that humans do.
Oh boy. Maybe they just shoot out tiny little eggs. Just
do you think like they have trouble talking like when they're aroused then? I finally really said it.
Their tongue swells off.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Ah, fuck. Well, we're going to hell. Anyways, Phlox gets a reading on his little Dr-O-Matic that the crew members' vitals are going bad or something. I don't know. Anyways, Phlox calls up and was like, hey, I know you're working as fast as you can, but work faster. Because, TV shows love doing that shit to people. So he says that to T'Pol. So T'Pol tells Reed that she knows that he's working as fast as he can, but he needs to work faster as well. So we have to fastest everything. Act 4, back to the gross slime room. Archer trip and they're looking pretty rough, and then they can see that Reed and them are coming in. Reed has shield emitters that are like, do you remember those tap lights that were sold in infomercials like 20 years ago? You put them in your closet and just tap them and stuff. That's what shield emitters are. It's pretty cool. We just put those on the wall and tap them. Everything in Star Trek is off by like a couple fractions of a micron. So, like, he had to adjust one of the shield emitters because it was, like, off by 0.5 microns.
This final calibration going on.
Yeah. He just slapped these bitches on the wall all willy-nilly, but 0.5 microns is how much it was off by. Hoshi busts out her TI-83 graphing calculator and gets to fucking work. It starts emitting tones that Reed is completely unimpressed by. She's really tricked out her TI-83 graphing calculator. There's like a whole like bottom extension now that's got like wicked stuff on it and numbers and things. It
was a very War of the Worlds situation going on here.
War of the Worlds. How so?
Well, just how they communicate with like the lights and tones.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were talking about. You're talking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Is that what I'm talking about?
Yes, that's where they come and play Intergalactic Simon.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, behind Devil's Tower.
Yep,
which
that's the one I'm
has a
thinking about.
different name now, which has an indigenous name that I don't remember, but it should probably call it that instead. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Good movie.
Like that movie, yeah.
Yeah, it's got one of the Dreyfuses in it, I think.
That was a Spielberg movie, wasn't it?
I believe so. The model for the alien ship is actually in the Air and Space Museum Annex out at Dulles, near DC.
Oh, cool.
And you can see all the little like Easter eggs that are on it, like R2-D2's on it, because like Industrial Light and Magic was helping with the movie. And there's like a destroyer and stuff. It's fun. Anyways, Hoshi and the alien go back and forth with some loud noises, and then there's silence, and the silence lures you in to some false security as the goopiest noises yet start. in like the worst ASMR that's ever been put to tape, they deposit all of the crew members into their sloppy messes on the floor.
Yes, they're still like unconscious. They're very tired from their filming their bukkake scene, and yeah, they're just a little sleepy.
The alien that wants to go home. It gives them longitude and latitude because Toshi couldn't understand anything this alien said, but certainly got like across the like vague planetary coordinate systems that it was using.
Yeah, it's Enterprise Uber.
Right, and then the alien, it just starts packing up its things so it can go home. Like, it just starts kind of collapsing in on itself. We get to this planet. We let the alien out of a container. There's a scene where it's like, "I'm home, Papa!" And then like, it runs over to join the larger organism, which turns out is just one organism that this thing kind of rejoins.
Phlox lets his little alien tentacle bud go.
Junior gets to go home too. I have in my notes here. And then we
so
pan
much
out.
Goo in his little container he was in too.
We pan out, and that thing is big. That organism covers like the entire continent.
Yep.
And then we
It's a
fade
cool
out.
concept.
Yes. So, I gave this one a 4 because it was just fucking boring.
Oh, I don't know. I actually kind of enjoyed it outside of all the gooiness. I think there was some good bits in it. I lean more towards like a 6 for it, actually.
Whoa.
I was more leaning towards a 4 as well, only because I felt like they did Hoshi wrong in terms of the script writing in this.
100%.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
She's made a lot of progress as like a person by this point in the season, and like her regressing like this it felt a little like disgenuine. I don't know.
See, I found myself like laughing and enjoying it like like too much to give it to like a 5 or less. So I'm like, I kind of enjoyed it.
I just didn't find it interesting. Like, it was just kind of boring and not a lot was happening. The science, quote unquote, of it was like kind of lame. I don't know. But that was my opinion. All right. Go ahead, Rob.
Sorry. I was going to say, I appreciate episodes of Star Trek like this where they explore the idea of life outside of like a typical humanoid package.
Yeah.
That's what I liked most about it.
Yeah. I mean, like, we don't know what we're going to find when we get out there. Assumedly just a bunch of humanoids with different foreheads and then like...
and nose ridges.
And then a semen-soaked saran wrap monster. So...
100%.
Yeah. And on that note, we're going to take a little break and we will be right back.
Semen-soaked saran wrap monster. Say that 5 times fast.
Welcome back. So today for the deep dive, Stanford's going to get a little technical. All right. So, previously on Stanford Gets Technical, we talked about how warp drives work, because that is a fundamental concept that needs to be, very thoroughly explained in the Star Trek universe, because, like, it's going to go wrong a lot, because that's where all the tension is, right? Is the warp drive. So, I spent a couple of hours looking information up, digesting all of the nonsense on Memory Alpha, and, kind of putting together this pseudo-scientific technology and how it works. So today, we're going to do artificial gravity, okay?
Okay.
And I similarly spent a couple hours scouring through the related documents on Memory Alpha, checking out some things online. I even looked into some old technical manuals because I can find totally legal PDFs of them. And I need you right now, one of you, to ask me how artificial gravity works.
Stanford, how does artificial gravity work?
I don't fucking know.
Excellent.
So, here's a fun fact about artificial gravity in Star Trek. No one knows how it works because it's never, ever, ever, ever explained. Except like is offhanded lines in some of the novels. It is never explained. Now, there is one extraordinarily reasonable reason for this.
This is like why Latinum is valuable.
Right. But there is actually a good reason for why this is never explained. Can either of you guess?
Because it's not important?
In a tangential way, Rob, you're kind of right, but not exactly. It's because we can't afford to not have artificial gravity when we're filming this shit. So we just don't talk about it.
We don't talk about artificial gravity.
So, fun fact, the first time that artificial gravity actually fails or is non-existent in the show.
Which show?
I'm about to get there. In Star Trek as a visual, like, screen medium is during the 6th movie, Undiscovered Country. When they go on the Klingon ship where the artificial gravity
That's actually
failed.
what I had in my head. Yeah, I remember the little blood droplets floating around.
Yes, and that was like a whole thing. I remember that scene and going, oh, that's so cool. That is the first time that artificial gravity has on screen not worked.
Interesting.
It has been, there are only 2 other times actually where artificial gravity on a ship is explicitly, 3 other times. There are only 3 other times where artificial gravity on a ship is filmed as not happening. Can you guess any of them?
Well, one was on Enterprise.
Yes. Do you remember which one?
Yeah, Archer was like floating around in his shower. I don't remember which episode it was.
It was episode 4. He was in the shower.
Discovery?
I'm sorry. This is pre-Discovery, this factoid. I assume Discovery's had some because it's like, in the time when we can CGI that shit. So I actually don't know, but like pre-Discovery, where Enterprise is the last show, I'll give you a hint. One is in DS9 and one is in Voyager.
I was trying to think. I didn't remember any in like Next Gen. Trying to think of DS9 though. I don't remember any in DS9.
In DS9, it was on purpose, if that helps.
No, yeah.
So this is a sequence. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, no, never mind. I was thinking of something else.
So this is a sequence that we're going to explore very much in depth when we get to DS9 because I am taking that episode. It is in the Melora episode because she is in a wheelchair because the gravity from her
I remember
planet
this
or
now.
whatever is really low. And so they change the gravity in her room to be low, and Dr. Bashir goes and has low gravity sex with her.
Yep. I remember this now.
While they're bounding about clothed, Dr. Bashir acts like he's never been in low gravity before in his entire life and is ecstatic about it, which is weird because he's a Starfleet officer. The episode of Voyager, it is literally one tiny sequence where gravity went out on the bridge and Tuvok kind of vaguely floats towards the ceiling and then we cut away and never see it again.
Okay. Yeah, that would be why I don't remember that.
So the reason that gravity is never really discussed or in detail is because we never, unlike the warp drive, it's never a part of the plot. And the reason it's never a part of the plot is it's too expensive, okay? It's very expensive to film that stuff, at least back before we had convincing enough CGI that we could pull it off.
Right.
What's very interesting is that in the universe, there is actually an explanation as to why artificial gravity doesn't have an explanation. And it comes from the animated series.
Oh boy.
So this is going to be an interesting little tidbit that I don't think either of you are fully aware of. In a previous episode of this, I talked about some sci-fi authors that I really like, and one of them I mentioned was Larry Niven. Larry Niven wrote the book Ringworld, which I know Rob has read. I don't believe you have read any Niven, Chris, correct?
I have not, no.
Okay. Rob, you remember Ringworld?
Vaguely.
Okay. Larry Niven was a prolific author during the 70s and 80s, so he actually wrote an episode of the animated series. And he was allowed to insert his own IP into the episode. So Larry Niven's IP, some of it is canon. Okay?
That is wild.
Yes. So what's interesting is the alien race that he introduced called the Kzinti. Rob, I don't know if you remember, but there was a cat person that was on the Ringworld expedition.
Yeah.
He's a Kzinti.
Yeah. Right.
There is apparently a Kzinti in the background of Lower Decks at one point as kind of an homage, but there is an episode of the animated series called The Slaver Weapon, which I will explain in a moment, where the Kzinti play very heavily as the antagonists.
Is that what the Doctor is on Lower Decks?
No, he's some other kind of cat-like humanoid. Although when I first saw her, I was like, is that a Kzinti? But no, it's some other thing. Now, what is extra interesting is that Enterprise got canceled after its 4th season. It never got picked up for a season 5. Because of that, we missed out on 2 interesting and very disappointing things. One, apparently Shran was going to be a regular bridge officer for season 5, which would have been cool. Incredible. And 2, the primary antagonist through season 5 were going to be the Kzinti. They were going to bring them back.
Wow.
Which would have been the only live action like Larry Niven stuff that's ever been done.
Interesting.
So were they like actual Kzinti? Was that supposed to be like a 1-to-1 analog there?
Yes.
Okay.
They were Larry Niven's Kzinti.
That would have been interesting.
Yes. Now, Larry Niven has explored the Kzinti throughout his known space. They're one of the standard known space alien races. They're kind of like the Klingons of Larry Niven's universe. So like they're there, they're warlike, and so on and so forth. He has a set of books and stories that are all about the Man-Kzin Wars. So like if you really want to read about the Kzinti, you can do so. It's all out there. Man-Kzin Wars and stuff for Larry Niven's known space universe. Now, the episode of the animated series that Larry Niven wrote is called The Slaver Weapon, which is kind of an interesting name. And when I first heard it, because my dad kind of mentioned this, and I was like, The Slaver Weapon? That's interesting. It sounds like out of World of Patavs. And Dad goes, yes, exactly. World of Patavs, I know that word sounds weird. It is PTAV. Go with it. Is a Larry Niven short story wherein there is billions of years ago, the galaxy was controlled by this one super technological race that also happened to be like super telepathic and could basically like enslave your mind with a thought. That was why they were called the Slavers. Eventually there was a big uprising. They overthrew them, but they had this technology called a stasis field, which allowed basically anything inside the stasis field would just survive forever without time moving forward until the stasis field was broken. Okay. In Larry Niven's universe, it is often mentioned that every once in a while people would stumble across stasis caches of the slaver race's like technologies. That is the primary that is the MacGuffin of that episode of the animated series. Okay? And I promise you this is going somewhere.
I'm like, what does this have to do with gravity?
Yeah, well, we're about to get there. So Kirk goes, we found this, because it's, it's the original crew, like Kirk, Spock, et cetera, et cetera. Kirk's like, yo, we found this slaver box, and I think McCoy's like, what's a slaver box? And Spock very helpfully explains, because Larry Niven needs to explain this, that, well, these are slaver caches held in a stasis field. They usually have unbelievable technology. Humanity has stumbled across some, a couple times in our history. we learned our anti-gravity from a lift belt that was in a stasis cache.
Interesting.
Larry Niven is the canon explanation for how artificial gravity came to Star Trek.
That's really funny.
That is funny, yeah.
And it is basically said, like, this technology is wildly more advanced than anything anyone had ever seen. We reverse engineered it the best we can. So basically, they don't even really know how it entirely works.
That's funny. Wild.
Yeah, it's very strange. The specifics about how the anti-grav works, or excuse me, the gravity, the artificial gravity works is pretty unclear. As I said, we do know what it can do. We can modify gravity in specific parts of the ship through the grav plating. So I guess like there are like gravity plates that go under the decks, and we can individually control those. So sometimes in some rooms it'll be less gravity or more gravity, I guess, depending on what you're comfortable with. I've always wondered if like the crew members got like a thermostat that they could set the gravity with.
Right.
My dad has told me that, and this is why he was calling me. Excuse me. My dad tells me that part of the original concept of the engineering in Star Trek was that ships were partially held together by artificial gravity, and that's why it like never fails, because it's like an integral part of the concepts of the ship's hull.
Huh, interesting.
I could not find a source for that. So if I do, I will add in an editor's note right here. Hey, Stanford here in the editor's booth. We did not find any additional information. Chief says that he remembers it from some technical manual, but he doesn't remember which. And I could not find it anywhere, so who knows? But that does explain why in the phaser episode, The Silent Enemy, when Archer says, we'll just redirect the excess power over to the grav plating to strengthen our hull. That does actually make that line make more sense.
Oh,
that's true. Yeah.
Because it will actually like structurally reinforce it.
Right, because again, in Star Trek, the way things work is it does its thing better if you give it more power.
I need more power.
Yes, so that's as technical as I can get about artificial gravity, because that's as technical as they actually get inside the universe. Like I said, apparently a couple of the novels go into the details a little bit further. There was a schematic in one of the technical manuals of the Enterprise D, which I think I actually had those technical manuals when I was a kid, where like it had the artificial gravity generator doing this like spinny thing in the middle of the ship. Although it's one of those things where it's like, if that's what's controlling it, why can we turn it off in certain rooms? That's weird, but whatever.
No, it's fine.
But like, that's it. That's as detailed as you're going to get. And it is interesting to notice that artificial gravity and its failure is never a plot point in this show, ever. Because it's too expensive to film that shit.
That is funny.
I was watching an episode of Ready Room, and they were talking about how in Subspace Rhapsody they had to do like work while they were like being suspended up in the air at one point. Apparently it's also very uncomfortable, so I'm sure the cast isn't really sad about not being able to do zero-G stuff.
Yeah.
I have heard that it's uncomfortable as well. So quick note about artificial gravity, because I don't know if y'all know this, but I went to space camp. Do you know how they filmed the artificial gravity scenes in Apollo 13?
No.
Sorry, did I say artificial gravity? The zero gravity scenes in Apollo 13?
I mean, the only way I know to simulate artificial gravity is through like the vomit comet, what that does. And
that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So they redesigned the interior. They built the Apollo 13 set into the vomit comet. And I should probably explain what the vomit comet is. So the vomit comet is an airplane, I believe a 737, that is completely empty on the inside. And what we do in order to simulate a lack of gravity is fly it up to 60,000 feet, not that high, 40,000 feet, and then basically nosedive it to almost perfectly flat so that you're basically falling, and therefore there's no gravity that's really kind of affecting you because your bodies are falling at the same rate the airplane's cabin is. And they can dive for about 3 minutes, I think it is, before they have to pull back up. And you can go see YouTube videos of this thing. Basically, the reason they call it the vomit comet, and this is true. I had an astronaut tell me this to my face, so it has to be true. There are windows on the vomit comet that they keep closed, and you're allowed to look out them if you want to, but they tell you if you look out the window at the wrong time, your ears will forget what's happening and you will be uncontrollably vomiting for the rest of the flight. And they have to strap you down with a bag over your face.
That's awful.
But if you watch the YouTube videos, they'll show the astronauts will, to experience zero G, they'll hit the crest, they'll start going down, and they're like, all right, go. But then right before they hit the bottom of the valley of the flight, they will actually everyone hit the deck, and they'll go and they'll go down on the floor and spread out because the gravity is going to come back and they don't want anyone tumbling.
Mm-hmm.
For Apollo 13, they built an Apollo 13 set inside the vomit comet. And then, so basically every scene in Apollo 13, as I understand it, every scene in Apollo 13 that is zero gravity is filmed in 3-minute bits by the actors in that plane.
Good God.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
It sounds like
That's
some fucking
so
dedication.
expensive. That would
That movie was undoubtedly expensive to make. I know it made all of its money back. It was a wildly successful movie. However, I'm not sure how expensive that would be because, an airplane's not that expensive to run, right?
I suppose.
I mean, fuel is expensive, and I've
Fuel
seen
maintenance.
It is now, but this was back in 1996, 97.
I guess so, but I don't know, man. It's a pretty big plane from what I've seen of it. I forget it. It was either Simone Gertz or Physics Girl. I watched a video where they were in that thing. It's pretty big.
Right. But also bear in mind that the budget of these movies is, multiple tens of millions of dollars back in, 1996, 97. So
True.
I mean, that's negligible fuel costs when you're talking about an 8-figure budget,
Yeah.
So yes, very interesting stuff. So that's my thing on artificial gravity. That's pretty much all I got. We will be back with Rob's Potpourri right after this little break.
All right, welcome back. So for this week's Potpourri section, I thought we could have a little fun here. And we're going to play a little game called Star Trek Episode or Romance Novel, where you guys have to guess whether or not it is the title to a Star Trek episode or the name of a romance novel.
I like it. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Oh, man. We should get my dad on for this. He's watched Star Trek and reads romance novels.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm sure he will enjoy it. So first up, and I'm going to put the names out there, and both of you just give me an answer as to whether you think it's Star Trek or the title to a romance novel. So first up, Shore Leave.
Yeah, that's a Voyager episode. Yeah, right?
Star Trek episode.
It is indeed a Star Trek episode.
All right, which one?
I want to reveal that at the end of the little quiz we've got going on here.
Okay.
Oh, so mysterious. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, A Walk to Remember.
That's got to be a romance novel, right?
That sounds like a romance novel.
It is. Yep. Nicholas Sparks.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh man, I don't know any names.
He's the one who wrote The Notebook.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that the crying in the rain one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you've also just described like half of all romance novels.
And a scene from Blade Runner, weirdly.
Yeah.
And Lord of the Rings. The Man Trap.
Oh, Star Trek.
I was just say I'm fairly sure that's a Star Trek episode.
I think I saw that episode.
It is indeed a Star Trek episode.
Although that would be a good name for a romance novel.
The Naked Time.
Oh, Star Trek episode. That's TOS.
Sure, we'll go with that.
It is indeed TOS, those old scientists. The Truth About Forever.
Ooh.
Ooh. Man, I want to break my streak. I think we're gonna go with romance novel. Like we had 2 Star Trek episodes back to back there.
I'm gonna go romance novel as well. Yeah.
Yep, you guys are right, man. You guys are 5 for 5 so far, neck and neck here.
Man, you like the solos. That's a good title for an episode, though. That's
It was,
good,
yeah.
Right? Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Oh, is this like a trap? I feel like this is. I mean,
it's got to be a Star Trek episode. It's got to be a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, that's a Star Trek episode.
Okay, I'm like, this is way too easy.
Plus, let's be fair. I don't think there is a romance novel in which a man goes somewhere that no man has gone before.
The Selection.
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna go romance novel.
I'm gonna go. The Selection. I'm gonna deviate. I'm gonna go Star Trek.
It is indeed a romance novel.
Yeah.
Cass. Leaving Paradise.
Star Trek episode.
Star Trek episode.
Romance novel.
Damn.
Simone, I actually don't know how to pronounce this last name. Elkeles? Elkeles. The Next Always.
Oh.
Next always.
That's got to be a romance novel, right?
Ooh. I think
Like,
that's a Star
unless
Trek
it's a-
episode.
Unless it's a TOS.
It's a romance novel.
Damn.
Nora
Nice.
Roberts.
Oh, tied it back up.
Yep, tied it back up. Space Seed.
Oh, come on.
Star Trek episode.
Chris.
Oh, God. I mean, it's got the word space in it.
And
But also
Seed.
Seed.
I think that's is this the episode we just watched? There's lots of space seed everywhere in that episode.
No, that was Vox Sola.
Okay. Gosh. Oh, gosh. Star Trek episode.
Yep, Star Trek episode.
Whew.
This Side of Paradise.
Oh, God damn it.
See, maybe I was thinking of this one because I remember Paradise being in the title of an episode I watched before.
Well, I know Paradise was the name of one, just
Yeah.
straight up. I think Paradise Lost was the name of one, too.
Yeah.
This
Isn't that
Side of Paradise. I'm going to go with Star Trek again.
Yeah, I was thinking Star Trek.
Yep, Star Trek episode.
Whew,
Okay.
All right.
The Edge of Never.
Fucking hell, man. Oh, God damn it. Because, like, it sounds like a Star Trek episode, but then, like, I don't know, is it just a pretentious romance novel?
Yeah. I'm actually thinking romance novel for
I'm going
this
to go
one.
with romance novel, too.
Yep, it's a romance novel.
Oh, God damn.
J.A. Redmersky. And then last one here. The Devil in the Dark.
I believe that's a Star Trek episode.
Oh, the Devil in the Dark. Now, let me ask you, Rob. This is the last one. Is this a trick question?
No.
Okay. Your silence was like, oh shit, is it? All right, I'm going to go with a Star Trek episode. No, I'm going to go with a romance novel just so we're not tied.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
So Chris wins. So the reason why I wanted to wait until the end, every single one of these episodes was from season 1 of the original series.
Shut up, really?
That
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me. They had some very, very like romantic notions of titles in romantic in the terms of like literary romance, like very like literary titles.
Poetic.
Poetic. That's the word I'm looking for. Poetic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I was looking through the wiki and I started noticing this trend in all of these names, and I was like, I have a fun idea for a game we could play.
Yeah, because there's also like City on the Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh man,
and-
your dad would have been good at this game.
Oh yeah, he would have been like, that's this. He probably's read all those novels too.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up for the week, boys?
No, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was fun, and I'm glad it was not too long because we were lengthy.
Yeah, we were. All right, so thank you all for joining us for another episode of Captain's Log Supplemental. If you like what you heard, please consider following, subscribing, rating, or leaving us a comment. If you don't like what you heard, leave Stanford a mean comment because he loves drama.
No, hey, hold on. I like drama that doesn't involve me.
No,
There's a big difference.
You're a messy bitch who loves the drama.
I do. God, I'm so messy.
All right, night, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Captain's Log Supplemental. You can follow us on Twitter at PodCLS or send us hate mail at podcls3@gmail.com.